Hello everybody, I am Oscar.
And I'm ill.
Also known as James. We have just come back from seeing The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. Now before we get into our thoughts on the film, let's just recap what we thought in the previous two. Originally I didn't like An Unexpected Journey that much. I thought it was really boring and I just didn't get into the world that much. And Desolation of Smaug, I kind of felt the same way towards the beginning, but towards the end I really liked it. After rewatching the two extended editions yesterday, I've grown to like them a lot more. So overall, I wouldn't say I was huge on the trilogy going into it, but I was excited to see how this would end, this Hobbit trilogy.
Unexpected Journey, I thought it was really good, as with Smaug.
Yeah.
And then it was like, as I thought, it was really boring. And I watched it again. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's just a bit dull.
I believe Smaug was on our top 10 list last year, I think, yeah.
And Smaug, I watched it again. And I watched it through again and I thought, first half is really good. Ending kind of lost me.
Oh, so we were the opposite feelings on that.
I know, at the end and I was sort of like, okay. And then this one, it's the reverse.
Okay, so let's get to the Battle of Five Armies. The plot of it is essentially it's literally just the third part in this story.
But it's not even called, they don't even have subtitles. It just comes up The Hobbit.
Like they did with Lord of the Rings.
They don't have subtitles on it.
Until it gets
just
a bit
one
further.
continuous story.
Again, it's just continue on. We're picking off where the Desolation of Smaug left off with Smaug charging. Spoilers for Desolation of Smaug, where Smaug is just charging through.
Because people would watch a review of this without watching it.
They might do, because they might be curious.
Not that smart.
Just charging through the human village, just burning up. Lake Town.
Wow, you got it right.
Yeah, I did.
It's like perfectly okay. The first half was boring as hell.
Okay.
Everything was rushed far too quickly.
Okay.
And nothing was really it's like basically in the first 10 minutes, oh crap, we forgot to finish off the other movie.
We'll get spoilers to explain more probably.
Let's push all of the end of Smaug into the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
Before the title of the thing actually came up. And then it was all talk, boring. Then
same thing as Fellowship though. Fellowship was exactly like that.
The Fellowship's, I agree, the Fellowship's boring. The first half of Fellowship was boring. But then the war started. The actual battle. Yeah. Then it got good. Then it dipped again, and the ending was okay.
Okay.
But the ending I really did like. Okay. I'm talking the last
minute
and a half. Yeah. Because
the last scene, the very
last scene. Yeah.
Thoughts on the acting?
I always think it was alright. Martin Freeman's good. Ian McKellen's good. Thorin, I did like it.
Richard Armitage.
I did like his descent into madness. That was quite cool. But the other dwarves didn't need to be there. I mean, two of them.
Well, they kind of.
It's like we just think two or three of them have speaking roles. And
that was kind of the same throughout the entire trilogy of this.
And then there's we met the new one who was a CG Billy Connolly.
Yeah.
Which I loved. As soon as I heard his voice, I was like, it's Billy Connolly! And he has tusks. But all the supporting cast were okay.
Orlando Bloom. Luke Evans, Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah, they were all okay.
Lee Pace.
But speaking of pace, the main thing about this film was the pacing.
Okay.
Just because everything was Smaug. And then, we're going to start the battle, and then the battle was okay, and then it was ending.
Okay.
And it seemed a bit rushed.
Do you have any more thoughts on this, any more positives and negatives?
CG was a bit overabundant. And I understand that it has to be in some things, but it just seemed a bit...
What do you think was the most overused for? Without, as much as you can
obviously for the battles and stuff, it was mainly for the sets. A few of the sets, when they were standing, it was the part where it was the three of them and they were looking onto the entrance to the mountain. It was obvious green screen.
Well, they couldn't have like.
It's not like you could tell it was in front of a green screen.
Right.
And so
they could have been touched up a little bit.
Yeah, it just seemed like they were just using it because they could, not because they had to.
Well, they couldn't have really carved the blinking or like got.
Not for other parts as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like the part where Bilbo was climbing over the bits that had fallen down off the statue. They were practical. That was really cool. That was really like how they did that.
Yeah.
But like makeup and otherwise, it was all good.
Yeah, I mean the stuff. It's a guarantee of this film. You know you're gonna get great costumes, great makeup.
The costume and the set design was really.
I mean, it's like those are always the high points.
Music as well.
Howard Shaw, yeah.
I liked at the very end, as we sort of wrap things up. It starts playing Fellowship, like the actual.
The Shire theme.
Yeah, and stuff like that, and it gets brighter and it starts, and then they get to...
Kind of like what happened in Return of the King.
Yeah.
This, I can't believe how much difference of opinions we're having this, because I think that this is the fastest pace, just leave the frame on, won't you? I think this is the fastest paced Hobbit film, and the fastest paced Middle-earth film, I think. Because, I mean... I can't remember a thing about Fellowship that much.
Could have to do with the runtime as well.
But I think this is the fastest paced film in the Middle-earth films. As much as I mean, Fellowship it dragged. That was mainly just, if you don't get fantasy dialogue or this high,
with all the different locations,
you will get lost with Fellowship.
Yeah.
Two Towers is probably my favourite of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that had its slow points with the trees and whatnot. Return of the King. It was way too long for its own right, in my opinion. And the other two Hobbit films, again, had its moments, but it was slow. You really do need to pay attention to this. This one was very fast-paced, because it's mainly action. It's mainly the battles, and I think the battles were done very well. Like anything with the elves, it's the same thing with like any of these Middle-earth films. Anything with the elves, you're guaranteed some pretty awesome choreography, because they're like always the perfect.
Mainly because they're all CG. I noticed a bit of lazy CG. It was as Gandalf's coming through them to talk to Thorin. About 4 of the faces next to each other were the exact same.
I did pick up on that, like when dwarves and marching, you can see like completely. You can like see like copies or like it's whatever. I had a mixed bag, like mixed feelings on the beginning part of it with Smaug, the actual desolation. Because I mean, I think the ending of Desolation of Smaug was great, because it was like, oh my god, cliffhanger. But the way that they kind of just did it at the beginning of this, I think if it was more or less like for the first half of the film, yeah, I can understand. I can understand leaving it off at a cliffhanger, but at the end of the day, I think they could have fit all that in at the end of it and like have the end of Desolation of Smaug like, yes, we got our land back. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't like hate it, but I mean it was cool seeing Smaug just destroy everything, and Cumberbatch as the voice of the dragon himself is always by the not long we've had of him but that's the thing. He's not Smaug for very long in either one of these films, and yet he leaves such a big impact on, well, me at least, of being a very good villain. The best villain in the Middle-earth. Smaug, in my opinion, is the best villain because he's literally the Joker of this thing. He's literally like, I'm just doing this because. I like those types of villains, like more chaotic rather than like, I have a purpose. Acting overall, I think was great. I think that Martin Freeman gave his best performance of the trilogy. Like, I think especially the scene near enough towards the end got me a little bit emotional. And I think Richard Armitage as Thorin, great. He's always been my favourite of this, of the Hobbit trilogy, because it's his story. Yeah. As much as like Bilbo is the main character, as much as he's kind of like the fish out of water, and that's the whole story of the Hobbit. It's like, oh, fish out of water, oh, adventure. It's Thorin's story. Yeah. It's him trying to get back his kingdom. It's him trying to get what's rightfully his. He's trying to get revenge, not just on Smaug, but on the orcs as well. And I think he gives a great performance. The dwarves has always been my biggest problem with this trilogy, because not the fact that they're there, because I think that they're more dignified than Gimli in the lot. I mean, but there's 13 of them. I'm not going to get to know all of them. I'm not going to care.
Too saturated by them.
Yeah. I'm not going to... Maybe if there was like 7. I didn't know most of them. I got to know Thorin. I can't even remember his name, but the guy with the older one with the white beard.
Balin.
Balin. Keely, yeah, and his brother. That's only because he's his brother. I think Orlando Bloom was really good, considering he can be very wooden in any role he's in. He's known to...
Pirates of the Caribbean, cough.
Yeah. But I think he was good. He's Legolas. He's doing what he did in the trilogy,
He's essentially there for the people who watch Lord of the Rings.
Which is fine. I think it was a good addition. He didn't, like, drag anything down. He was just Legolas. He was the same as he was in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. A pleasant surprise for me was Lee Pace as his dad, as his father. I didn't think because he can come off just very scummy and just...
selfish.
Yeah, but he kind of... I don't know. He wasn't... Something about him just was... I just thought he was very good in the role. Better than he was in Guardians. I just think the way he portrayed Legolas' dad wasn't black or white.
Yeah.
He was... It was a grey area. He wasn't like...
No, I think he was pretty much anti-dwarf.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't... But I never thought to myself, God, I wish he can just die. Evangeline Lilly, who played L'Oreal?
L'Oreal.
I can't remember her name. Tamiel. Was she in the book? Because from what I understand, she wasn't in the book.
I can't remember.
As far as I remember, she was an addition to the film. She was fine. However, this is the one bit which I completely think you could have just... Is the only reason she was in there is to make you remember another dwarf. She was there to literally think,
she's a plot point.
I now know that dwarf because now he's having a romantic interest with her. I'm not the type of person who's like, curse romantic storylines. I'm fine with romantic subplots. I don't care. If they're good, they're good. This one was very like shoved in to make you know another dwarf. So you're not just like, oh, Thorin. Thorin and the fat one. Like, so you know another dwarf. The only one who doesn't have a dwarf nose. He's just a normal...
The human-looking one.
Because we need a good-looking one. That's the only thing I really dislike about them, because it's generic, and those are the bits that slow the film down. Those were the bits that slowed the film down in Smaug. There wasn't a lot of it, which is why I give credit for it. It wasn't like they gave half of the film to it. It was just like a stupid little side plot, which I was fine with. But you really could have cut that out.
Yeah.
I mean, unless if Tariel was doing something else. I mean, the one thing I'm glad about, she actually fought.
Yeah.
Unlike, was it Arwen? In the original trilogy.
I remember.
Liv Tyler's character. The one that Aragorn. Whose biggest damage was, oh god, twig scratch.
Oh yeah, and it's like, oh look how badass it is.
Yeah.
It's like,
this one she actually fought. She got sword, she got bow and arrow, she fought off an orc, she got the pooping out of her, she got absolutely just like fist to face, bang, and and she stood up and she was like, okay, there's a powerful female character in this male dominant series. The scene where I'm trying to use character names and not actor names. Eldron, Hugo Weaving.
Oh yeah.
And Saruman came in and just absolutely...
the cameos were really good.
Yeah, they weren't forced and they weren't underused. I think it's like, okay, you did your part, I'm happy about that.
It's supposed to be leading into Fellowship. So.
Yeah. And I think overall the acting was great. Or good. Like, there was no performance which I was like, really, what was that there for? Like, why was he like that? The score by Howard Shaw is
very good.
Great. It's, again, another excellent score by him.
Especially when they start bringing the Fellowship ones in, it's like...
Yeah. But just the original stuff, like the battle scenes. Unlike you, I was never bored by the talking scenes. I was never bored by when they were discussing things or anything. I think it was just as much like that as it was in the other two films. Like, I don't get too... It's like, when I pay attention to it and when I actually focus on what these fantasy words are and everything, I get sucked in. It's like Game of Thrones for me. Like I get sucked in. Like once you understand what they're talking about and you pay attention to them, you're in the world. The runtime. Yeah, fast paced. This was a fast paced film, which I always like in these epics and everything. I would prefer it to be fast paced and not dragging like all hell. Dragon.
You said it.
But I do think if this film was a little bit longer, it could have felt more of like this epic end feeling. And I think that that's where the extended edition will come in handy, and I will watch the extended edition because I think I feel like I got more out of the first two films as extended editions, more than I did the other, than the theatrical releases. And I think this one really helped when we get more content in it.
Yeah.
And you're saying about like storylines not seeming like they concluded. It kind of happened in Return of the King, like the theatrical editions, where where Saruman wasn't in the theatrical edition of Return of the King.
Yeah,
and they cut him out and they put him in.
Return of the King, Two Towers, I think.
No, he wasn't in Return of the King.
Was he not?
No, he was in Two Towers for like a moment, I think. But yeah, in Return of the King, he wasn't in there, and in an extended edition, they showed what happened to him. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen with these films, which I kind of get. You kind of want, to make your film as condensed as possible for the cinema goers and the extent, and but give us the storylines like that.
The important bits.
Yeah. It's like I think Peter Jackson doesn't quite understand some stuff that we
need. It's like
need.
if it's pointless, yeah, but if it's the death or the introduction
or a conclusion of a storyline. Yeah. Leading on to that, I think Peter Jackson did a great job of directing. I think the shots were breathtaking, some of them, and I think it looked very good. And it wasn't like most of Lord of the Rings where they were like wide angle shots of close up face. Like just like right here, like look, wide angle, look how like much good quality we've got and everything. It just stepped back and just let you look at like just the landscapes and the battle scenes and the costumes and all that. So before I go into spoilers, just overall thoughts, quick summed up thoughts of the Hobbit, the Battle of Five Armies.
It was okay.
Okay. For me, it had I do like it. I do actually. I would say that it's a really good film that has its flaws. It's like The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Rises in that sense. It's a really good film, but it has its flaws. Just know that going into it, that it is a fantasy film. It's escapism. It's not meant to be taken like too seriously. I think it's fun, and I think it is a. I would recommend going to see it in the cinema, because I wouldn't you? I think it's good for fans of the Hobbit series. I won't necessarily say Lord of the Rings. I'll say more of the Hobbit films.
Well, I think if
this is its own thing. Like
I think
feeling.
If they were a fan of the series, they would have seen the other two. So why wouldn't they see the other?
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, I would say go and see it. It has its flaws, but I would watch it again. Mainly extended edition. I would want to watch it. I would watch these more than Lord of the Rings. I think I might prefer the Hobbit trilogy over the Lord of the Rings, and that's a very unpopular opinion.
I'm going to kill you for just for the people who would be offended by it.